rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events, this is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. Anyway, for those that haven't been watching the news, although I know that some have, yes, I do live in the state of Washington, but no, I am not near Spokane. Now, for those of you that may not have seen the news, Spokane actually has wildfire problems, such that a wildfire started obviously in the woods and went across and then jumped the river and has expanded drastically due to winds and dry weather over there, and has taken out something like 600 homes, or I should say 600 buildings, because I don't think it's all homes. But yeah, it can get pretty bad because, well, let's be honest, Washington is a leftist state that believes in the climate change BS, and because of that is not, or has many laws passed that would mitigate, not prevent 100%, but definitely mitigate the impact of wildfires, such as things like clearing out the underbrush, the dry underbrush, back burning, logging in some cases. Now, in this particular case, my understanding is, and I could be wrong, but my understanding is the area that the fire started in has been logged. So, you know, nothing more to really be said there, but unfortunately, there are several buildings that are still under problem areas. People have had to be evacuated quickly. And this all happened, of course, over the weekend. So if you see a fire, I'm telling you, if you see a fire out in the woods, okay, don't mess around. It's kind of like, you know, the whole tornado thing. I mean, you see a tornado, you figure out where it's going, and you go 90 degrees from its direction of travel, because you don't want to be near the thing. You really don't. You know, those storm chasers, they have a lot of adrenaline and not so much smarts in some cases, although they're doing it for scientific reasons for the most part. But still, the point being is that you do not want to be around these things, because they can expand quickly and they are very dangerous. They get very hot, and yeah, it's not a good thing. Anyway, all right, enough about that. I want to talk a little bit about some possibilities in terms of political parties. We've had some stuff has come out over the course of the weekend that I think is kind of interesting, and it made me sort of wonder, okay, well, what about if we have more political parties? I mean, historically speaking, America was not built over and around two political parties. In fact, the founders really did not like political parties. They didn't want anything to do with political parties, because to them, political parties sort of went along with pure democracy, which they abhorred. So they didn't like political parties. They thought that political parties were detrimental to the system. Well, since about 1850-ish, the Democrat and Republican parties have dominated this country. Now, all of that being said, we actually have roughly 55, as of 2025, we have roughly 55 district ballot qualified political parties in the United States. We may end up with two more. And I'll get to that here in just a few minutes. But first, let's go ahead and get tonight's pledge going. G, who seems to be missing a couch because 3 Chevys trying to get G to take his. G is up for tonight's Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one, like me. Place your hand over your heart. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with G as he recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty, and of course I thank you, G, with your very slight accent there, although I did catch it when you said one nation. Anyway, if you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, attach it to an email. Address that email to me. Address it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And I will get you into the rotation. I have 25 of these. I need 26. I'd like to have 26 by the end of 2026. So if you haven't done yours as of yet, please do so at your earliest convenience. And if you use your phone, make sure that you use the share option. That's the S-H-A-R-E option to send it directly from your phone, whatever app you use. Send it from your phone directly to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. All of my Southern contingent over here on the Rumble chat, the longtime Whiskey Warrior P1s, they make fun of me because I call out their accents because they don't have accents. Apparently, I have an accent to them. That's how we roll. Anyway, I've tried a couple accents on these guys, and I'm telling you, that, I mean, even though I did pick one up when I was in Texas, at least according to my northern friends and family members, at one point, it's kind of worked its way out. But I used to be able to do things like an Irish accent, even an Australian accent. I could speak Australian, you know, throw a little bit in there. I tried Scottish. Scottish and Irish kind of tied together in my American mind. But anyway. All right, enough of that. Let's head on over to our headline sponsor tonight, of course, is none other than, oh, there it is, theflagshirt.com. I've got one of their fantastic shirts on me right now. This is one of the 2 performance sport shirts that I have here. And, you can get yours by heading over to theflagshirt.com. Normally I do the, men's cotton polos. Those are my favorites. But they do have others. They've got men's performance shirts, other tees and things. I've got a Don't Tread on Me tee that actually is supposed to be yellow, but looks a little more orange to me, but whatever. Anyway, head on over to theflagshirt.com. Check out all of their summer bestsellers, their patriotic accessories, patriotic golf gear, as well as men's, women's, kids, made in the USA, America's 250. I think they still have that going. And don't forget, if you order $75 or more of their product, they will provide you with free shipping. You could also jump in and get gift cards if you don't know what your patriotic friend might want, or if you don't know their size. Get them a gift card. Yeah, and let them pick it all out. Head on over to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. All right, well, as I was saying in my opening monologue, the United States political landscape has pretty much been covered since, let's say sometime in the 1850s, by the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. But the reality of it is we do have a lot of other parties there. The problem or the problem with these people being able to take hold and take charge is the fact that we have a winner-take-all system. We do not have a parliamentary system like you would see in, say, Israel or the UK, where you would have to, get coalitions together within Congress, even though we kind of have that because we do have caucuses and things of that nature where they all get together. But generally speaking, you have Democrats, you have Republicans, and a smattering of independents. But some of the other parties that are the most significant of the additional parties are those like the Libertarian Party, which is recognized in somewhere between 38 to 39 states. You have the Green Party, which is recognized in 21 to maybe 27 states. You have the Constitution Party, which is recognized in 12 to 15 states. You have the Working Families Party, which so far is only recognized in 3 to 4 states, and the Reform Party, also recognized in 3 to 4 states. The thing here is, and this is really the challenge, and as much as I sit here and want to talk about this more often, the thing about it is that we have a winner-take-all system. If you look at things like our electoral college for president, 48 out of the 50 states have a literal winner-take-all, meaning that if you win the popular vote in that state, you will gain all of the electoral college votes, generally speaking. And so in order for other political parties to actually be able to have any chance of success, regardless, would be, in my mind, that would be the first thing that we would have to break. 48 states would have to no longer recognize winner take all and allocate each electoral college vote to whatever candidate actually wins within that section or within that district. Okay. That's what we would have to do. Well, before I get into where I think this is going, let's talk a little bit for a second about some of the things that are happening in within the Democrat Party as of now, because of the fact that the Democrats seem to be going through some sort of a civil transformational, we could call it a war, but a civil transformation. And we're watching it in real time here, people. I mean, this is sort of, in a way, reminiscent of the Tea Party movement within the Republican Party. But here now, we're starting to see that there are establishment Democrats who are sitting here and going, our big tent coalition that we've been putting together is well, a bit out there. Case in point, Bill Maher. Now, Bill Maher is no friend to conservatives at all. In fact, he is a leftist. But he's not quite as left as the left is today. And so one thing that's good about Bill Maher is that he does say some of the quiet stuff out loud. So let's take a listen here, and not to mention the fact that he does have a pretty big platform. But let's go ahead and take a listen here to Bill Maher as he explains, well, Democrats, we have a bit of a problem.
And finally, new rule: Donald Trump has told 1 trillion lies, but when he says the Democratic Socialists of America are actually communist, that's not one of them. And it's not hard to prove it, just by quoting the DSA and their candidates. It gives me no pleasure to have to do this. I'd much rather keep going the good vibes from my summer vacation. I had an awesome one, by the way. I totally got a girlfriend at Bible camp. However, right before we left, Vice President J.D. Vance was on the show, and I told him that if the Democratic Party keeps going in the direction of the DSA, my vote was in play. And all I heard all vacation was, oh my God, you're a Republican now. No, that's not what I said. I said in play. And here's why. Because not a week goes by where I don't read about some newly chosen, exciting new face in the Democratic Party. And then when that face opens its mouth, the Communist Manifesto or some other crazy shit comes out. Again, let's just read the quotes. The DSA platform says you work as much as you are able and no more than needed. If that was any closer to Karl Marx's dictum from each according to his abilities to each according to his needs, they'd be sued for plagiarism. Not to leave any doubt, New York Mayor Mondani once tweeted Karl Marx's words exactly. They're not trying to hide it. Their most popular influencer, Hassan Piker, thinks communism is so groovy. He laments the fall of the two of the most murderous regimes in history, the Soviet Union and Chairman Mao's China. Mondani's aide, his top aide, Sia Weaver, said, if you don't believe in the government's sacred right to seize property, it's over, and impoverish the white middle class. What? That's a goal? You know you're supposed to scare people into voting for you, right? One of the new soon-to-be Democratic congresspeople, Darlisia Chevalier, supports seizing all properties from landlords and said, seize the means of production. Mondani has said the end goal is seizing the means of production. I think they want to seize the means of production. Now, maybe you missed that in school or missed school altogether, but that's communism. That's communism, which we tried, and it doesn't work. Parties can change sometimes, you know. You have to keep up. Who freed the slaves? Republicans, Lincoln. Democrats were the racist party back then, but then JFK got elected and it switched. The DSA itself has switched, even 5 years ago. It shunned communists. That changed. Things change. Now the coalition within the DSA, called the Marxist Unity Group, is in ascendance, and I must take them at their word when their words include, our commitment is to the long-term struggle for a fully liberated, classless society, in a word, communism. What do they have to do? Tweet out, elect more communists? Oh yeah, Sia Weaver did that. Yes. Good, I'm glad you're shocked. People got to realize this is going on.
Okay, so I could keep going with that, but the thing is, I wanted to end it there because of the fact that, did you hear his audience? His audience doesn't even know. Now, that's not to say that they're not, smart, because they aren't. They buy into this crap. And this goes on. I mean, he continues. The whole monologue is almost 10 minutes long, and I don't want to play the entire thing, but man, these people don't seem to understand what's happening here. Their party, meaning the Democrat Party, is actually getting broken down. They are, because they were welcomed in the tent. Now, here's part of the problem, and this is for real, is that the reason why they were welcomed into the tent is because of the fact that they want to destroy America as it stands. Whether you're a Democrat or a DSA person or an Islamist. That's why they can put together this coalition that is essentially, hey, we're going to take anybody who has the idea that America is horrible and needs to be destroyed. We want you in our tent. Vote for us. The thing is, I don't think the Democrat Party realized that the DSA was going to be satisfied with just being a part of the party. Meaning that I don't think that the leftists have decided that they want to just sit on their laurels right now and relish anytime the Democrat Party wins. They are at a point now where they're saying, you know what? We actually have about a third of your party right now. And the 1/3 is going to be very, very vocal. Now, what's sad about this, though, is that you have long-term Democrats that are rethinking this whole thing. And they're saying, you know what? I'm not exactly sure I want to be a part of this anymore. There's this guy who the Democrats, generally speaking, follow. And he is an old guy. He's been in the party for a very long time. In fact, he's been known as the Ragin' Cajun. And the Ragin' Cajun himself has come out and, well, let's just say he's not quite so happy about the changes that are going on in his party. He said on a show called The Sunday Briefing, he goes, well, if the far left party is going to have, influencer and streamer Hassan Piker as the leading voice, and that an overwhelming majority of Democrats agree with this guy, he goes, I'm not going to be in the same party with Hassan Piker. He says, if Piker becomes a force in the Democrat Party, I'm out of here. I have no intention of ever being in the same political party with that guy. Piker, who is a self-described socialist streamer, who, by the way, it's kind of funny. All of these people, all of these idiots who are out there screaming socialism and tax the rich and, tear down the patriarchy and all this other crap. Have you ever noticed? They're almost all affluent, rich people. Hassan Piker is no different. I mean, Ma'am Danny never worked a job in his life. His affluent parents gave him everything that he wanted. AOC. She's upper middle class. See, these people are not from the working class. These are not somebody who has worked themselves up from the bottom. Okay? These are people who have literally been given everything from the capitalist spoon. And they are now decrying the benefits of capitalism with the idea that having this, what this is considered to be, this grand scheme where we're going to break down all of the classes and nobody's going to be rich. Everybody's going to be the same level, so on and so forth. Yeah. You got candidate Abdul El Sayed, who, by the way, was on or at some sort of a town hall, and he literally claimed the reason why nobody is voting for him or nobody has voted for him is because of racism, because his name is Abdul. It has nothing to do with that. Yeah, he's another leading voice on the left as the Democratic Socialists gain ground in elections across the country. But see, all of that stuff sounds wonderful. It sounds great. Unless you have a functioning brain cell. Even Joe Manchin is like, yeah, this ain't exactly what I think I want in my party. Take a listen.
Heather, could you ever support a self-described socialist candidate?
No.
No way. My God, no.
And
even if they have some good ideas?
Well, I support the good ideas, but how could you support some of the crazy stuff they're for? Have you seen their platform? They're for dismantling everything that we know, whether it be the structure of government, Congress itself, or the Senate they want to get rid of. And then they start talking about all the crazy things. No police, no this, no this, no that. Are you crazy? We want a crime-free area. We have to have police for that.
Yes.
We want a strong defense. We want a strong border. But if Democrats can't say that, and they start lining up with the socialist demands of what you are to be a socialist, energy will be gone. There'll be no energy, okay? We have right now a tremendous amount of energy we're producing, and the world depends more on us than ever before.
But
we can do more.
Yeah. Well, guys, I mean, I hate to say this to the Democrats. No, I don't. I think it serves you right, you dumbasses. You're the ones that brought them into your tent, made them think that they were going to have a seat at the table. And now that they have a seat at the table, well, they're freaking out about it. They're freaking out. But I'll be honest with you, it's not just the Democrats that are the problem. We have a problem on the right as well. But before I move on to that, let me go back to Manchin. Manchin goes on to explain why he didn't run in the 2024 presidential election as an independent. Keep in mind, in practical terms, running as an independent is literally impossible. Okay? But even if it was possible, and this is exactly why, okay, you got to remember, if you run as an independent, formerly being a Democrat, then you split the Democrat Party and the Republican wins. If you run as a Republican first, or have been part of the Republican Party, and you split as a Republican, well, you split the Republican ticket. And the Democrats win. See, this is part of the problem. Well, Manchin doesn't really say this, but he does kind of illustrate the issue as well. Margaret Brennan asks him, well, when you were talking about why you did not run in 2024 for president, you said you didn't want to be a spoiler. Manchin says, I couldn't get on all 50 ballots. You put me on 50 ballots, then I have a platform, I can speak. He goes, but I have no chance of winning because I'm only on 16 ballots or 20 ballots statewide, national-wide. And Brennan goes, so it was really ballot access. Senator Manchin says it's ballot access. And that by itself, for those of you that don't know, is a real problem for every would-be third-party candidate. Everything that we have right now is built on a two-party system. So this is part of the reason why I describe myself as a strict constitutionalist. But as a strict constitutionalist, I will never vote with the Democrat Party. Ever. I will more than likely vote for a Republican because the Republicans more closely align with my ideals. They aren't perfect. They're not what I always want. I mean, to me, government needs to be as small and minimal as possible, meaning that welfare, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, education, all of this crap that the Democrats keep pushing, that all needs to go away because that's not part of the Constitution. And to sit here and say that I'm going to vote for a Democrat when those are my core principles, values, and beliefs, no, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Yeah. Oh, Bonnie writes, Rick, you mean they have Republican candidates in Washington? Yeah, unfortunately, we did have a Republican candidate in the name of Joe Kent, who apparently became a security risk and is a complete moron. But hey, yeah, we do occasionally have them. Not like they win. We haven't had any wins in a very long time. Well, except for the eastern part of the state. So everything on the east side of the Cascade Mountains is generally speaking Republican, with the exception of like the city of Spokane. It's the same way for, Oregon and California. Anything on the east side of the mountains generally runs Republican. Anything on the west side of the mountains, though, yeah, we're all buried in frickin' leftist lunacy. And to be honest, if it were the water, why haven't I changed over? I drink water all the time. It's some brain worm or something. I don't know. Anyway. All right. Anyway, it's not just the leftist lunatics in the Democrat Party that are in the problem. We now have rightist lunatics. Some people call them the horseshoe ride. I personally don't think it's a horseshoe. I don't think our politics are a horseshoe. I actually think it's more of a circle. Because in the top, and if you think about this, okay, you have a circle, right? In the top part of the circle is totalitarianism, which is essentially things like fascism, socialism, communism. It's basically government running every single channel, space, aspect, whatever you want to call, of your life. And then you get to the bottom part of the circle, and that's like almost all no control, like almost no government, just very, very little of what is allowed or what is needed. And that's probably more so where I sit, is down toward the bottom of the circle. And then in between, on either the left side or the right side, you have like more of what they consider moderate Democrats and moderate Republicans. Moderate meaning that, well, they like big government in certain ways, but not always, kind of thing. Well, anyway, as I was saying, up at the top of the circle, you have the totalitarianists, the ones that think that government is your nanny, your mama, and that you need to suckle off the teat of mama all the time. And unfortunately, we have some people who at one point thought that they were going to be a part of the party that is, amazing or whatever. Here's a photo. This is from Mediaite, who, of course, probably loves this. But here's a photo. Oh, shoot. I don't know what happened here. Hold on. Give it just a second. And there it is. Oh, I hate that. Hang on. There we go. So here's the photo. This is some supposedly right-wing people here. Because you have former Republicans like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Her husband's right next to her left. You have a former Republican, Thomas Massey. That's right, Thomas Massey. The idiot rhino who was there. You have Joe Kent in the back. I don't know if that's his wife next to him. Next to him or not. I don't know. But at the head of the table, you have none other than Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. These rhinos have decided that they are going to start a new political party. That's right. They've all gotten together and they want to start a new political party. Okay. Full of Fruit Loops. Sorry, I'm stealing that from you, Miss D. Yeah. Folks, I mean, you know, as wonderful as what Mediaite, which is a left-leaning organization, well, left-leaning is kind of, you know, way left. They're sitting here and they're sitting at this table and they're all like, hey, we want to start a new party. We're going to start a new party. Okay, I got an idea for you. Well, let me rephrase that. I don't have an idea for you. You guys go and do your thing, okay? But if I were to go and join a party, because again, as I said, I'm a strict constitutionalist. If I were to go and join a party, any kind of party that would line up even more closely than ever to my values and my principles, it would be this one. The Constitution Party. But even the Constitution Party, I have a couple, there's a couple. Not much, but a couple. Now, this one I would be much more inclined to back. Same thing in terms of this one I would be much more inclined to vote for. If I could actually have one in Washington, because they actually do not have any backing here in Washington. But that being said, they have, in my mind, they're a pretty decent possibility in terms of another party. You want another right-leaning conservative party? Okay? But still, even then, again, keep in mind, we're not going to get anywhere. We're not going to get anywhere because of the plain and simple fact that our system of government, as it has metastasized and morphed over the course of decades, is making it to where a third party can't get in here because of the way the rules have been worked and stacked against us, essentially against the people and their choices. It's made it to where we only get the two parties. That's it. For better or for worse, and sicker and poorer, richer and in health, man. Yeah, that's all we get is those, the two parties. So, there you go. All right. Well, some more fallout from, Fauci's exposure of his true thoughts in his diary. So, first of all, Florida decided to investigate Fauci, and we also have Louisiana, I think, and one other that is, before I move on, G points out, look at the difference between a John Adams republic and a Thomas Jefferson republic. He's like, there's so many differences even there. Yeah. Well, that was one of the things that they didn't really, and you also had the Federalists, the Anti-Federalists, you had the Democratic Republican Party. I mean, there were so many different parties that were tied together. Not necessarily tied together, but that existed. But even then, many of the founders were like, we don't believe in political parties. Just have a guy run. Have somebody run. That's it. They didn't even want political parties. They weren't interested in that kind of crap. But anyway. All right, let's get back to Fauci. So Fauci is now facing potential investigations in at least 3 states. Now, all 3 states, I don't recall what the third state is, but all 3 states are Republican-led states. And if there's any way to get at Fauci right now, because Donald Trump has mentioned, and I thought this was kind of interesting, he mentioned that he'll respect the pardon, the presidential pardon, because in his mind, and honestly, I think it is, it's one of the biggest powers, or one of the greater powers that a president does have. However, in his same speech where he mentions that, he also points out that there's a possibility the auto pen isn't is kind of hinky. Okay. Yeah. The auto pen. Well, I don't see him necessarily suing over the auto pen. Although I do think that somebody somewhere should, but anyway, all of that being said, okay, Donald Trump says that he is not going to question Anthony Fauci's pardon. And that's just the way it is. So, I don't think we're going to go anywhere with that one at all. Unless Congress maybe does something, I don't know. Which they actually could. I mean, they could potentially, I guess, the way this is supposed to work, they could potentially sue the executive branch and say that the pardons, like Dr. Fauci's pardon, are not legal because they're not signed by the president's hand. You know, as I said in the Constitution, he shall sign it, not his mechanical pencil shall sign it. Seems like they could potentially have a case there, but I guess, I don't know. It just depends. It's probably not one of those things that that they would necessarily go for. But all of that being said, now that his diary has been presented, and, you know, everybody, just to point this out, everybody has been saying, okay, Fauci seriously screwed up. Even people on the left are saying the exact same thing. But another couple of things were presented in the diary. And that is, there were two people as a part of the mainstream media that essentially, well, they were like Fauci's best buddies. And RFK goes up against one of them this past weekend on the State of the Union. See, Dana Bash and, what was the other guy's name? Jake Tapper. There we go. Dana Bash and Jake Tapper were noted in Fauci's diary as being like, oh, yeah, I love them. They're best buddies. We're best buddies and blah, blah, blah. I know I'm kind of paraphrasing here. But anyway, RFK and Dana Bash kind of went at each other. Here, this is what it sounds like.
And autism. Is that true?
Did you say probing the link?
I'm just quoting the Wall Street Journal, that the president wants you to go further to probe the link between autism and vaccines.
He certainly does.
Okay. Now, have you talked to him about medical research that have studied this for 25 years and found no link between autism and vaccines? And just this is my question here, because I don't want to litigate that. My question is, why not, because you are HHS secretary now, why not study what could cause autism, which scientists do believe starts with fetal brain development? Why not do some studies on that, whether you're an environmental lawyer, whether there are environmental factors that go into contributing to a predisposed genetic situation?
Well, let me say this first. We're doing all those things, and that's one of the ways that we found Tylenol. There's 73 studies out there and linked Tylenol exposure during later pregnancy and during the perinatal period to autism onset. But you are wrong when you say that this issue has been studied. It has been studied, and you're rolling your eyes, Dana. But
I am, because I don't want to have you use our air to say this. There have been more than 40 studies involving 5.6 million people to conclude there is no link between vaccines and autism. This is the head of the Committee of Infectious Diseases for the American Academy of Pediatrics.
Now let me tell you what the Institute of Medicine says, which is the National Academy of Sciences, which is the ultimate arbiter on vaccine safety, and which it does not have an interest in this debate. It says that none of the 8 vaccines that are administered during the first 6 months of life have ever been studied for a relationship to autism. It found 2 studies, one on the DTP vaccine that showed that it does cause autism, and one on the hepatitis B vaccine that again suggests that it does cause autism. The Institute of Medicine dismissed those 2 studies because they were based on CDC's database. The studies that you're referring to are all for one vaccine, the MMR vaccine, or one ingredient, thimerosal.
So you are actually looking at, you're starting new studies to try to link autism, but you're also telling me...
I'm not trying to link autism to anything. I'm trying to find out, why is autism...
Are you also trying to find out how it interacts with people's DNA, what's predisposed to have an autistic child? Are you doing both?
Yeah, but Dana, you probably don't understand this because you're not a scientist, but genes
you're not either.
Genes don't cause epidemics.
I understand. Genes,
epidemics. Provide a vulnerability.
A gene provides an environmental. That's what I'm asking. Are you studying the environmental
We're looking
exposure?
at all the different environmental exposures, but your statement, you have been fooled. Your statement that this has been studied is not true. It's categorically not true. Not for any of the studies.
It is considered.
Considered by who?
By every scientist who has studied this.
That is not true. I can give you hundreds of scientists who have looked at this.
So on the one hand, do you understand why people aren't getting...
Academy of Sciences. What greater authority
do you understand why people are not getting measles vaccines? Because they're hearing you say that it could cause autism.
You're trying to change the subject.
I'm not. It's very much related.
Show me one of the studies that's been done on the first 8 the vaccines during the first 6 months of life. You will not find them. The National Academy of Sciences.
So if that's the case, then why are you telling people to get the measles vaccine?
Because that is one of the vaccines that has been studied.
Okay.
It's the only one that has been studied.
Do you want people to get the MMR vaccine?
Yeah, I said that already.
Okay, so
I know you're flustered now, and it is.
I'm not flustered at all. I am frustrated.
And honest.
The reason I'm frustrated is because you are the HHS. You are the HHS secretary, and you are talking about things that lead to vaccine hesitancy in this country, and it is something that causes problems for people when there is not anything.
Let me ask you something. Do you see your job as ending vaccine hesitancy, or do you see your job as telling the truth to the American people?
I see my job as telling the truth, and the truth is that there is study after study after study. It's one of the most studied things out there in science.
You're repeating
and
it like a parrot. You're repeating it like a parrot.
So
I've actually read the science. Let's come back here and debate the science.
Okay, well they're going to keep going back and forth. But here's the thing, and this I think is really where the crux of all of this comes from, okay? We just went through a quote unquote pandemic led by a man, a little garden gnome, who has just had his innermost thoughts exposed to the public. Those innermost thoughts were not aligned with what he said in the public. And in fact, there's evidence all over the place that this guy, this little garden gnome, went and lied across all facets, saying that, oh, masks work, masks don't work. The vaccine is safe. The vaccine's not safe. Okay. There's no way that the COVID virus was developed in a lab when he actually funded the lab. So, yeah, forgive all of us, Dana, especially when you were one of the ones parroting, to use a term from RFK Jr., parroting the little garden gnomes, everything about it. Okay? Now, I'm just going to say this right now. Okay? If you have come out of COVID without a healthy respect for the fact that there are underlying potential issues with a lot of these so-called studies and peer-reviewed papers and so on and so forth, that you really need to check into things yourself and try to understand the situations or whatever with yourself, with your own knowledge, and consulting people that you consider to be trusted experts, rather than just buying the company line. Then I applaud you. Okay? I applaud you. Now, the thing is that whether RFK Jr. is a scientist or not, which honestly, I'm just going to say really doesn't matter much, because if Bill Gates were on her show, sitting there talking about his lab manufactured meat, she'd be bending over backwards for the guy. The problem is not that it's RFK Jr. The problem is that it's a logical, reasonable, common sense, rational number of thinking with regards to all of this. Now, you should have a healthy respect to question everything. To question everything. Now, the thing about it is that Kennedy continues and he goes, this is later on, I'm not going to play it, but he goes, all you know how to do is repeat things that people told you and say, trust the experts. Now we know that Anthony Fauci, who was the expert, was lying about everything. Masks, social distancing, about natural immunity, transmission from the vaccine, source of COVID. He was lying. And you were punishing people for not trusting the experts. And now you're rolling out the experts again to talk about something that you have no personal knowledge of. And she said, well, guess what? That is my job, to talk to people. Kennedy replies and says, your job is to tell the truth to the American public and maintain a posture of fierce skepticism toward government authority. Exactly. And then she says, am I allowed to talk? And she says, yes. And my job is to get as much information as I can. Information as you can. Right. So, anyway. Yeah. CNN spokesperson said Dana Bash is a veteran journalist who conducted a newsmaking interview with Secretary Kennedy in which he stated that he supports parents getting their children vaccinated against measles and addressed President Trump's push for further study into autism and vaccines, asking tough, substantive questions to those in power is the job of every journalist. And Dana did hers incredibly well today. We stand behind Dana, her reporting, and CNN's overall coverage of the COVID-19 pandemic, except there's only one problem. They didn't bother questioning the COVID-19. They didn't bother questioning things like death rates and the fact that the only people that were dying were people with 4 comorbidities or more that were pretty much already on their way out. I'm just saying. And this is ridiculous. Even when people like myself, which, by the way, I still have in my email I think it was episode 547, which doesn't exist on YouTube. There was an episode that got pulled down from YouTube, specifically according to YouTube, for medical misinformation. And I have a feeling that the reason why is because I said the masks don't work, which they don't. That's the exact same thing as what Dan Bongino said, and he was torn down as well. Anyway. Wow, I've got so much more to even talk about, and I'm looking at the clock. Anyway, let's go real quick. I just want to rip apart James Tallarico one more time. This will keep going until he gets killed in the election. Yeah, somebody's going to cut that and say that I threatened James Tallarico. I did not. He just needs to get killed in the election so he never comes back. Anyway, in the political sphere, okay? All right. James Tallarico, according to Townhall, was at a speech, and he talks about health care. Now, I got to ask. I really got to ask, where is it anywhere in the Constitution, or in this case, in the Bible, where he is talking about health care is a responsibility of the government? Where is it? I really want to know, because, you know, so many people in the Democrat Party and the DSA, they all seem to think that healthcare is a quote unquote right. Now, let me explain to you something. A right does not mean that you have the right to have somebody else be your slave and do work for you. That's not a right. Okay? In fact, I seem to recall we outlawed slavery. So this whole idea that the federal government is going to make people give you health care, and especially give you health care for free, is ridiculous. It's not in the Constitution. In fact, the federal government has nothing to do with health care at all. At all. If you look at Article 1, Section 8, and again, I'm a strict constitutionalist. Now, that being said, Tallarico goes and he talks about, well, healthcare is a human right. It's not a privilege. He goes, since we are in church, if you read our scriptures, if you read the New Testament, what does Jesus spend most of his time doing? It's not preaching. It's not teaching. It's healing the sick. He continues and he says in Matthew 25, Scripture says that's how we will be judged and how we will be saved, by healing the sick, by feeding the hungry, by welcoming the stranger, by visiting the prisoner, except there's only one problem with all of this. That's not government. Jesus never once said government is required to do all of these things. And in fact, Jesus said, it is by your good works that I will judge you, meaning the individual. It's up to the individual to do their own good works. He also said in the Bible that you are not supposed to crow about your good works. In fact, you do it in private. You do it in private. You do it under the radar, not above the radar. So this guy is sitting here saying that Jesus would tell the government, hey, you guys got to put, the government's got to be in charge of healthcare. No. Jesus did not want people to support government programs. Jesus never said that. He tells the individuals, he tells the people to feed the hungry, to clothe the naked, to heal the sick. He never once said, therefore I say unto thee that your government should take as much money out of your paycheck as possible to give to others. No, he never said that. Jesus never said that. The Bible doesn't say that. But there's people out there who have never read the Bible who would look at this guy and go, oh, yeah, he is so, Yeah. Alrighty, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Also, too, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or a thumb sideways or at an angle across all my platforms. Whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, Pilled.net. That's my new streaming platform, Pilled.net, Pilled.net. Or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.